Hi everyone, welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. My name is Gina Pike. I'm so happy that you're here today. Today, this is my first video for what I'm calling KNITOBER. This month I have a couple of mystery knit-alongs that I'm participating in, and I'm going to try to squeeze in a cowl and then my regular knitting. So this I am deeming KNITOBER. This is my first mystery project update. And I'm excited to share this with you on Friday, October the 1st. I had mentioned this before, but Lilith, the mystery shawl knit along, being hosted by Boo Knits, that's Bev Johnson. It's her annual Halloween mystery knit along. It's a top down crescent shaped shawl with it's lace, and it has beads. If you want to participate with us, this is what it looks like. Lilith, Halloween, MKAL, Lilith. And it just started. Now, the one thing you need to know about this project, just a couple of things. There's a few things. But Lilith is, again, it's lace, crescent lace shawl, top down with beads. It has, you need about 800 beads, and then you need a skein of lace yarn. I am using this yarn here. You guys helped me pick this out in my lives. This yarn is from Dye for Yarn. I don't think I have a label. No, I do have a label. Dye for Yarn. And this colorway is called Bloody Pumpkin. Now this is one of their Tussa Silk yarn lines. It's 100% Tussa Silk, and it's 760 yards per 100 grams. So it's a nice lace weight yarn. And again, this is called Bloody Pumpkin. So it's got orange, and then it's got these twinges of blood, or actually just brown, you know. But that's what the thread looks like. And if you've never knitted with Tussa Silk before, it's a little sticky. I think it's a little sticky. But anyway, I guess I'm more used to doing bamboo, which is pretty slick. But that's what my yarn looks like. I'm going to show you my first clue here in a minute. We just had our first clue, and it was a little long. But on her patterns, I want to mention, she does both the text and the chart. So if you are not, it's not just one of those patterns where it's all chart. It has both, so it helps you learn how to use charts if you are more of a text person. And then you can see how your knitting's supposed to line up as well, which is the beautiful thing about charts. She also does her knit-alongs a lot faster than other people. A lot of people do their mystery knit-alongs where they get like one clue a week. Not Bev. She does a clue like every couple of days. So there's the first clue's on the 1st, the second clue's on the 4th of October, third clue's on the 8th, the fourth clue's on the 11th, the fifth clue's on the 15th, and then you have a week for between that one and the last clue on the 22nd. So in 3 weeks, you'll have all the clues, 6 clues for this shawl, and then you can wrap it up. And just in time for Halloween. And she does this every year. Last year, I think it was Shadow Dancer. I can't remember. And then the year before that was Morning Star. I've done this twice. This will be my 3rd time to do her mystery, Halloween mystery knit along. But, okay, I'm back from the door. Let's see. All right, as I was explaining, there is plenty of time to knit with this. It's just a little faster pace, and I would love for you to join me. I love doing this shawl. I'm about to show you my first clue. I did this in one day. I was actually pretty surprised I did it one day. I wasn't able to start till the afternoon, and I finished it like around midnight. I think. I can't remember the exact time, but this is clue 1 of the mystery shawl knit along for Lilith. And I'm going to lay it flat. It's because it's curling, because it's a lot of stockinette. and I want you guys to see the lace. But you do start at the top here. You can see where this thread is. That's where I started, and you can see that stitch marker. That's my first 2 stitches I cast on are right there, and then it grows from that. And you can see how it has this garter stitch tab edge, but you do a garter stitch tab cast on. I'll show you a little bit of a picture of mine. I remember I corded this. You start with 2 stitches. You knit like quite a few rows of garter stitch. You just knit back and forth, and then you end up with this long piece of fabric. You pick up stitches along you turn your work 90 degrees. You pick up stitches along one side, and then you go back into those original 2 stitches and pick up stitches through those. That's your garter stitch tab. It becomes instead of a square piece, it becomes a very long piece of fabric that turns into this garter stitch edge, and you can't tell where the shawl started. I wouldn't be able to tell without this piece of thread or these stitch markers. And that's the beauty of it. When you weave in your ends, when you're finished, you can't tell where you started. It looks seamless. All right, so this is what it looks like. You can see it started right away with some beads and some lace. And I will say this, I thought this yarn was a little more solid. It's pretty variegated for me. You can see all the little brown bloody spotches, and it's like, it's more variegated than I like to use for lace. So the whole time I was knitting it, I have been questioning if I picked the right yarn for this project, because I don't love it yet. I'm hoping that it will grow on me. But as you can see, there is lace and beads, and let me show you the beads I'm using too. The beads I'm using with this yarn are these Miyake beads. I don't know if you can see. They are called root beer. They are brownish, and then when the light hits them, they have this orangey sheen, which I thought was perfect with this yarn. I've actually had this yarn and this beads, so you can see how the light hits it. I've had the yarn and the beads set aside for quite some time to be used together. I think they go pretty nicely together. So that's what I'm using. And I tell you what, let me lay this down flat so that we can see this a little bit better without it curling. Just hold on. Alright, now this is it pinned out. So you can see some of the details in it. You can see the yarn a little bit better. You can see how it's variegating. This is where we started. And you can see how, here you can see the bead with the yarn. It goes really well, I think. Matches those little brown splotches. Again, it's a lot more variegated, stripy than I thought. I thought it was more splot, like little speckles. But it's pretty liney. So I don't know. It's very fall. So that's kind of cool. And you see the little lace that she's bringing in already, these little lace designs. I like them a lot, and they're actually getting more lacy as we go down. They're getting like that, so it's really pretty. And that's it. It is, like I said, already getting kind of big for Clue 1, and I'm excited about going on to Clue 2 and stuff. But that's it. That's it from another viewpoint. And pinned out so you can see it better. Trying to fall in love with the color of the yarn, but I don't want to start over, so I'm just going to continue on and just see what happens. The color is a little more washed out. This is actually a really darker rust color than it's showing up in my picture here, which actually makes it prettier. I like the darker orangey red color, and not quite so washed out that it is looking like in this picture. But that's it. That's Clue 1. Okay, that was Clue 1 for Lilith. And Clue 2 is going to be released on the 4th, which is a Monday. Excited about that. And we're getting rolling on this. I think I'm going to do updates for this shawl. Standalone, keep them shorter. But I do also have the stitches to show. Again, I'm going to show you all the stitches in this shawl so that you can evaluate if you want to make this with me. And they're all really easy. I've shown these many times before, and I would love to have you join me. Okay, now I'm going to show you the stitches that are going to be used for the Lilith shawl. I'm going to go ahead and show you, this is the legend, this is just the stitches. I'm going to show you all the stitches to be used for this shawl so that you can evaluate. I'm going to do it at the beginning so you can evaluate if you want to knit this or not. This is a mystery knit along. I'll show you these and you can see how easy they are and figure out if you want to make this with me or not. The first stitch listed in the legend is a KTB. You knit through the back loop. All you do is you insert your needle through the back leg of this next stitch on your knitting needle and bring your yarn through. That's a knit through the back loop. It's just your stitch is oriented a hair differently. This is a regular knit stitch, and when you knit through the back loop, you can see it centers it out, twists it a little bit. All right, the next stitch is just a knit stitch. You just insert your right hand needle into your next stitch, wrap your yarn around, pull the yarn through. If you're doing it, I can't do continental purl, but if you do continental, you're basically just doing the same thing as if you're picking. A continental knit is just like this, where you pull it through like that. Same thing. Next stitch is the knit stitch is a purl stitch on the wrong side, so you insert your right hand needle into your stitch in the front of the leg, wrap your yarn around your needle, pull it through. You will have a bump in front of your stitches that are purl stitches, like that. Little bump there. The next stitch is a knit two together. It's just like it sounds. Instead of knitting one stitch, you take two stitches, insert your needle into both of them and through the front leg, wrap your yarn around, pull the stitch through both of them, and it leans to the right, and you've made two stitches into one, so it's considered a decrease stitch. The next stitch is a slip-slip knit. There's several ways to do a slip-slip knit, but I like to do it this way, where I do slip the first stitch knitwise, slip the second stitch knitwise, insert my left hand needle through the front leg of both of those, and knit those two stitches together through the back loop. So that's the slip-slip knit. It is considered, it's a left leaning decrease, and it's considered a decrease stitch. All right, the next stitch is the S2K PSSO. It means you're going to slip two stitches together as if you're going to knit them onto your right hand needle. So you just insert your needle into both of them together, slip it. So see, the stitch that was second now becomes the stitch that is first. Then you're going to knit the next stitch. Then you're going to take those two stitches that you just slipped and pass them over and off the right hand needle over that stitch you knitted. It's taking three stitches into one, so it's a decrease stitch, and it looks like a center double decrease like that. It's all centered on the stitch. The stitch is all centered. It doesn't really lean to the right or to the left. The next stitches are all make stitches, make one stitches. They are all right. So let's knit the next stitch. So that so on the make one stitches, you're always going to be working in the leg in between the two stitches on your right hand needle and your left hand needle. That's where you're going to make the increase stitch, and these are all increase stitches. There's 4 of them, and you do them with the leg so that you will not make a hole, because like when you do a yarn over, you end up with a hole, or other increase stitches can leave a hole. So let's show you this. For make one or make left, you're going to take your left hand needle, grab that leg from front to back, and then you're going to always go through or knit through the part or purl that is shortest. See how the yarn is really long here, but in the back it's really short. Since the yarn is shorter in the back, you will knit through the back loop for the make left, and your stitch will end up leaning to the left a hair. It's when I'm talking about leaning to the left is this part right here is leaning to the left just a little bit. That's why it's called a make left. And that's all there is to it. Now for a make right, I want to undo it. You just pull it. I'll show that a little bit slower next time. To do a make right, you take your left hand needle, come from from back to front. See how the yarn is shorter in front, longer in back. So you're going to knit through the part that's short. So you insert your right hand needle through that short leg and just knit through the front of that stitch like that. And that's a make right stitch. Sorry, these are really wild and woolly cables on these needles. Do not like them. All right. Can you see how this is leaning to the right? This part right in here, that's why they call it a make right. That's all there is to it. That's what it looks like. To undo it, just let it come off the stitch and just pull it through. And because it was in the leg, it just easily it comes undone. All right. The other variation of this is where you purl the stitches instead of knit them. It's the same thing, exactly the same thing. For the make left, you come from front to back under that leg. Since it's shorter in the back, you're going to purl. You're going to purl through that short part of that stitch or that yarn. You're going to purl through the back loop. So you have to come from back to front like this. That one's just a little bit more complicated, but you're going to purl through that back leg, wrap your yarn around, pull it through. That's a make left purl. And it's a little hard to see, but in there it is leaning to the left. And for the make right purl, same thing we just did for the make right. You come from back to front under that leg. It is shorter. Again, your yarn has to be in front because you're purling. The yarn is shorter in front, so you purl through the front of that stitch, just like that. And that's a make right purl, and you can see it, that part right there kind of leans to the right, so that's why it's a make right purl. And it's a purl, so you have a little bump right there. And that's all it is. It's an increased stitch, and it'll all even itself out, and it's a way to add stitches to your knitting without making big holes in it. All right, so I'm just going to do that. Those are those 4 stitches. The next stitch is an increased stitch, which is just a yarn over. Now you take, for a yarn over, you just bring the yarn to the front and go all the way around the back of your needle. And then you knit the next stitch. If you have, the next stitch is a purl stitch, you have to take your yarn all the way around your needle and bring it back to the front so that you can purl the next stitch for a yarn over. And all a yarn over does is it will leave a hole in your knitting, which is why most of the times the symbol for it on a chart is a hole, because it's just taking the yarn a certain way to create a hole to make lace. All right, the next stitch is a 3, and that's going to be an increased stitch, and into the next stitch on your needle, you're going to make that 1 stitch into 3. And how you do it is you insert your needle in, you do a knit stitch. Do not pull that stitch off the left hand needle. Then do a yarn over and go back into that same stitch and do another knit stitch. That's called a knit, yarn over, knit. It's a 3 stitch on the symbol, but you just, in essence, took that 1 stitch and you made 3 stitches out of it. Okay, the next stitch is a 5, so it's the same variation of this, except you're going to make that 1 stitch into 5. So you insert your needle, do a knit stitch, do not pull that off the left hand needle, do a yarn over, go back into that same stitch and do another knit stitch. Do not pull it off because you only have 3, you need 5. Do another yarn over, go back into that same stitch, do a knit stitch, and now you have 5. So you can let that come off the left hand needle, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the 5 stitch, the knit, yarn over knit, yarn over knit. The next stitch that we have is a S2K BF PSSO. So this one's a little more, the most complicated stitch we have. You're going to slip 2 stitches together as if to knit them. So the second stitch will become the first stitch on your right hand needle. You take that, you slip them together just like that. Then now you're going to do, instead of doing a knit, you're going to do a knit back and front, which, see, if you're doing, since you're doing back and front, you go through the back leg first, like that. You're going to knit through the back of it. And then do not pull it off the left-hand needle. Insert your right needle back through the front leg of that same stitch and knit again through the front leg. And then you can pull it off, and basically you have knit through the back and the front of that stitch. So you created 2 stitches out of that 1 stitch, which is just another increase stitch. So now that part of it's done. Now we're to the PSSO part of the name of the stitch. You take the 2 slip stitches, pass them over those 2 stitches you just created by doing the knit back and front like that, and that's what it looks like. You have 3 stitches becomes 2, because you had the 2 slip stitches and then the 1 stitch that you made 2 out of. So 3 stitches becomes 2. Whereas in the other one, 3 stitches becomes 1. It's still a decreased stitch. And that, my friends, is all of the stitches in this shawl. That's it. That is all there is in the making of this shawl. They're not hard, like I said, since you now know how to do all of them. Why don't you guys make it with me? I would love for you to. Alright, thank you for watching the stitch tutorial. I'll wrap up the rest of this clue here in a second. Alright, thank you for watching the stitches and all of this video. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give me a thumbs up. If you are new here, we do talk about knitting and crochet and yarn, and we would love to have you join us. For those of you, my members, I appreciate you coming back and watching all my videos time and time again. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care.